All right. Hello, guys. Welcome. Welcome. If you don't have our workbook yet, here's where you can grab it. We're working through the 20 questions to reinvent your life. And so we are all the way up to just three left to go. We're on question 18 tonight. And we'll be finishing up this series. So we're going to continue on tonight and talking a little bit about that fear avenue. We've been talking about things like our core values and our strengths and what we enjoy and our dreams and our goals, all in this quest to make this year the best year of your life, that you really reinvent yourself into the version of you. And here you go. I'm going to keep that up here if you want to grab the workbook, but the version of you that has always been there. It's not about becoming somebody different. It's about stepping into that great version of you, the one that's been there the whole time, but maybe sometimes forget about. Now, if it's a little bit easier, I will go ahead and put the workbook in here in the chat. The workbook. So you guys can find that if that's easier than a QR code. And if you're watching the replay, let me know where you're finding us. Are you on Facebook or YouTube or LinkedIn? And where in the world are you? And is this the first question you're doing with us, or have you been kind of following along the series and doing all of the questions? So tonight, our question is on fear and courage. And so our last time we talked about what fears or apprehensions do I have about reinventing myself. And we talked about how sometimes we stop ourselves from being the best version of ourselves because there are fears that we might not even be aware of that are holding us back or kind of messing up our head, worried about what might happen. Tonight, we're going to dive a little bit now into what do we do about that. So if you remember, we made our list. What are the fears? First, we had to have an awareness of what am I even thinking that could be holding me back? Tonight, our question is, in what ways can I cultivate courage and resilience to overcome those fears? In what ways can I cultivate courage and resilience to overcome those fears? And I really love this because if you hang out with me at all, you know resilience is my soapbox word. I'm speaking this month at a summit for mothers, and we're talking about how you are the mirror for your children. And we talked a lot about resilience and what that means and why it's important to have resilience. So I think the first thing we need to do is talk about what is resilience. We use this word, but do we really understand what it means? Resilience simply means to be able to spring back. That's what it means by like deep root definition. It means the ability to spring back. And the idea with resilience is that you fall down and you can pick yourself back up. You get knocked down and you can pick yourself back up. That is what resilience is. And the piece that we seem to miss or that we want to avoid is that you got to fall down first. The only way you build resilience is by learning how to spring back, by learning how to pick yourself back up, and by learning that nothing can knock me down. So I think first we want to, if we're looking at resilience and we're talking about that, let's dive a little bit into courage. I'm actually going to go in and look up what is the root word of courage, because when we talk about cultivating courage, first we have to know, well, really, what does that mean? I think of courage and I think of the what is it? The tiger, the lion in The Wizard of Oz. What do you guys think of when you think of courage? So courage is a noun from the 1300s. So if we look at it as a noun, it meant heart, spirit, temperament, frame of mind. It was the innermost feelings, the temper. So that's kind of interesting, right? Because it's not how we think of courage. We don't think of courage as the innermost feelings of our mind. It went on to become, it was from a Latin word that meant heart. And it meant, and I love this, it says valor, quality of mind, which enables one to meet danger and trouble without fear. And that came from the 14th century. So that's what evolved into meaning that it was enabled us to meet danger and trouble without fear. And so when you now really step back and think about this, courage and resilience really go hand in hand, because courage is saying that even if I meet danger, even if I encounter fear, even if I encounter setbacks, things that will knock me down, I know that I'm resilient enough to pick myself back up. See, this is why I think that resilience is the single most important quality that we can develop. More important than success, work ethic, positive attitude, or any of those other things, it is the ability to pick yourself back up when you get knocked down. And here's why I think that is so powerful, is because I want you to think about what choices would you make? What would you say yes to? What dream would you go for if you knew that no matter what, no matter how it worked out, even if you fell on your face, you had the ability to get back up? I think all of us would be a lot braver. All of us would be a lot more courageous if we knew that nothing could knock us down. So one kind of tip, a way to get around this, is I want you to look at your list from yesterday. And if you haven't done that yet, you're going to want to go back and watch question 17 and make your list of what are the things that would make you afraid or make you a fear, that would stop you from living your dream life, the things that would stop you from stepping into your greatness. So first you need to know what those are. And then as you look at each one, I want you to go down the rabbit hole and say, well, what is the worst? If that happens, then what? If that happens, then what? And you keep asking yourself that question. It really is it's called catastrophizing. I actually did not know that this was a term that they use in therapy. I've just always done it my whole life. It's really powerful, but it's called catastrophizing. And I call it the rabbit hole. You go down the rabbit hole and you say, okay, I'm afraid of this. Well, okay, let's talk about if that happens, then what? Okay. And if that happens, then what? And if that happens, then what? And you keep going down until the end. Because what happens is when you know that this is where it could lead, that's when you can start to proactively think of strategies. Well, if that happens, how will I deal with it? What will I do at that point? How will I respond to that? What are my options at that point? It makes it so that now we feel more in control and more powerful. So let me give you an example of this. During the pandemic, you guys know my main source of income is from a direct sales company, and I thought that was my first business, and I thought that was going to get shut down. They were shutting down companies. They weren't essential businesses. And as a single parent, I was like, oh my gosh, what if this gets shut down? What if I literally have no way to make money and I'm not a W-2 employee? I wouldn't be eligible for unemployment. And here I am, and I'm, living with my daughter. And what will I do? I won't be able to pay my rent. And so I had a moment of panic. Like, what will I do? Everything, the whole world is shutting down. I won't be eligible for unemployment. I'm, by myself as a single parent. What will happen? And so I went down that rabbit hole, that fear. And I said, well, how much do I have in savings? How long could I live in here, live here and pay my bills with my savings? Not going to be as long as I would have liked, right? If I drain my savings, so, I might be able to stay here for, X amount of time, but we didn't know it was going to happen, right? And so I said, and then what? If I've drained my savings and I have no money left, then what? And I thought, well, then I'm going to have to pack up my stuff and move back home with, my parents as an adult woman with no place to go, right? And pack my daughter up and have to move. And I thought, okay, and if that happens, then what? And I thought, well, that's going to really stink. And I guess I would have to wait out the pandemic and see what happens. Because, guys, we didn't know. This was early on. We had no idea what was going to happen, right? And I was like, okay, and then what? And then I was like, well, I mean, I guess as long as if all of us are alive at the end, I'd have to rebuild my life from scratch. And I thought, and then what? And I thought, well, I had to do that before. When I went through my domestic violence divorce and my daughter went through cancer and I hit rock bottom, I had to rebuild my life from scratch. I guess I'd have to do it again. Now, did I like that choice? Did I like that option? Did that sound exhausting? Yes, all of those, all of the above, right? But I went, well, I did it once. I could do it again. And suddenly that fear dissipated. That fear wasn't as scary because it was like, here's my plan if that happens. In the worst case scenario, here's how I will handle that. Here's how I will respond. And so I felt like, well, I have some choices, and I felt more in control of my situation. I think a lot of times our fear comes from not feeling in control, from not feeling like we would know what to do or what would happen. And so this is that rebound, that resilience, when you are like, okay, this is what I would do. This is how I would handle it. Now you're proactively making choices to support you being in control. Right? So that's just one example. So as you go through your list and you say, okay, here's my dream life. Here's the reinvented version of me. Here's the version of me that's living life at my best level. Here are all the things that I'm afraid of. that would stop me from going for that, right? We talked about like what people will think about me. What if I lose friends? What if more is expected of me than I can really keep up with? What if I mess up? What if all of those things, right? Okay. And for each one on your list from yesterday, you're going to go, okay, if that happens, then what? If that happens, then what? If that happens, then what? Until you come to a place where you can choose how you would handle that. And here's the thing that stinks about resilience. Let's just be real. The only way you become resilient is by getting knocked down. The only way you figure out how strong you are is by having to be strong. Nobody likes that answer. I don't like that answer, right? How do we build resilient children? We let them kind of get, life has to knock them down a little bit. They have to get beat up a little bit to figure out how to build that muscle, to figure out how to pick themselves back up. And this is where as parents, I think sometimes we do our kids a disservice because we want to protect them. We don't want them to get hurt. We don't want them to fall. But then how do they ever learn how to pick themselves back up? Same thing for us. If we don't ever step out of our comfort zone, if we don't ever take that risk, if we don't ever go for that dream, then we never have a chance to fall. And if we never have a chance to fall, then we never have a chance to prove to ourselves that we're resilient. And so do you see how life can be so scary if you don't know how strong you are? Life isn't scary when you know you're so strong that it can't knock you down. And that if you do get knocked down by chance, boy, you're going to get back up. And not only are you going to get back up, you're going to get back up stronger, wiser, smarter, in a better place than when you got knocked down. And when you become that powerful and that resilient, you're going to go for wild dreams, wild goals. You're going to go for the impossible because you're going to be like, yeah, well, if it doesn't work out, I'll pick myself back up, right? I just want you to think for a minute. Just close your eyes and imagine for a minute. If you knew you could always pick yourself back up, what would you say yes to? What haven't you said yes to? Because you've been afraid, if I say yes to this and it doesn't work out and I get knocked down, I don't know how I would get back up. If this fails, and I don't like that word, but if I go for this and I fail, which is really getting knocked down, right? I don't know how I would recover. Well, what if you did? What if you were able to? What if you could pick yourself back up? It's only in the trying and in the going for it that we learn, right? And so really that's our question today. It's an easy question, but it's a work. This question I would say takes a little bit more work than some of the others because you may have a long list of fears that you came up with. You may have a long list of things that are stopping you from reinventing yourself and becoming the version of you that you know is there. That best version of you. That's like ready for that dream life. And if you look at the list and you don't really tackle those one by one, they are going to sit there and fester. They are going to take root in your subconscious, in the back of your brain, that when you try to go for something big or you try to step into your greatness, it's going to be going, hey, don't forget, I'm here. I could destroy you. I could mess up your life. Don't go for it. And subconsciously, it'll hold you back. But if you've come up with a plan of action, if you've come down that rabbit hole and said, this is how I will handle this, no matter what, then you're going to turn around and be like, I already addressed you. I got it. I got you covered. Even if this happens, look what I'm going to do. Look how I'm going to shift. Look how I'm going to pivot. Right. And for most of us, the things that we're really afraid of, the really big things that stop us are usually when we go down that catastrophizing exercises aren't as scary as we thought. It's the unknown that's scary. Would you guys agree? It's the unknown. It's the not knowing. But once we know, it's not as scary. It's like that saying, right? I'm not afraid of the dark. I'm afraid of what's in the dark because I don't know what's in the dark. I don't know what's in there. But once I know, now I have choice, power, options, right? So I would love to know a couple of quick things. We have just 2 questions left, just 2 questions in our series. Oh my gosh. So I would love that if you're in our Hey Girl You Can community, hop over into our Facebook group. Let us know that you've done this exercise because it's great to hear it. Here's the thing. If we want to reinvent our life, we can sit, we can watch these videos, we can talk about these things. They can all sound great in theory. If we don't do the work, nothing's going to change. This year will go by, you will have the same, maybe a few little bit different things, but not the dream life that's really there for you. It's a dream life for a reason. When I say a dream life, it's not because it's unattainable. It's because that is your dream. And if you're able to dream it, then you are able to have it and become it. And so it would be a cruel universe to be able to put a dream in your heart. It would be a cruel God that could give you the ability to dream it and not achieve it or have it. And so there's this gap between what's possible and where we're at. And it's usually just our thoughts, our negative beliefs, our limiting beliefs, our patterns, our habits that don't serve us, that are stopping us from what's possible. And here's a great thing I always think. If it's possible for one person, it's possible for you. If it's possible for one person to have that dream life, then it's possible for you. So the work is sitting down and going through your list and not just hearing it, but doing it. So if you're in the Hey Girl You Can community, I would love for you to hop over into our private Facebook group and put down how many items were on your list. Have you tackled them? Is there one that's really hard that's holding you back that you're like, you know what, I'm not sure how I would handle it. I mean, this is how we come together as a community and brainstorm and support you. And maybe we need to kind of say, okay, let's see what would happen then. Let's work through that together. Okay. That's where the community part of Hey Girl You Can is. It's so that you're not doing this work alone. All right. Um, Now, this month has passed for our Total Transformation Day, and I don't think I have updated the date on the website, but our next one will be coming up next month. So if you missed out on that, you can register for next month for our Total Transformation Day. And this is our 1 day deep dive where we get together on Zoom. We spend the whole day, we have lunch, we break for lunch, we come back together, but we really do this deep work of transformation, of taking you from where you are to where you want to be. So it's not about taking a 6-week course or having to go away for a weekend. We've done the transformation weekend as a weekend. Not everybody can get away for a weekend. Not everybody can travel, but everybody can have a transformed life. And so I'm taking all of that and putting that into that 1 day. You work with me. It's in a small group setting, and we get this done. It is a power-packed day. So that you start at point A, we move through point B, and you come out in point C in a totally transformed place with action plans. You know your next step. You feel empowered. That's what that day is about. If you haven't grabbed the workbook, make sure you grab the workbook because we're already all the way through and you want to go back and you want to do all of the questions that led up to now. Okay. These were questions on your values, your strengths, how to get support, how to find mentorship, how to figure out what's important to you. Because if you want to reinvent yourself, you need to know what it is that you want to reinvent and why you want to reinvent it, what you want this new life to look for. So I want you to be able to grab the workbook and you can get that over here. Okay. And then we've just got 2 left. So join me back as we finish this up, and I'll be excited to see if you're doing the work. I want to hear how this is shifting you. Like, I do read all the comments. Let me know what is shifting for you. What is changing for you? Was there a question that was a big aha moment for you? And remember that I don't want it to be I watch a video and it stops. I want it to be I watch a video, I get connected, I get into the community, and I start to see my life shift, and I start to see my life transform, and I start to see myself go after those dreams and those goals and the things that I haven't done because I'm now stepping into the best version of myself, the one that has been there all along. So I hope you guys have a great day, and I'll see you soon for question number 19. Bye, everybody.